Hello everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tails Crafts. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a 10 card 1 kit video featuring our new retro Christmas card kit. Here I'm showing you everything that's included. You get this 6 by 8.5 inch paper pad, which is really great for A7 or slimline cards. And you get the We Wish You a Merry Christmas word die that is exclusive to the card kit, and it coordinates with these tree die cuts. So you get a retro tree and then a regular sort of tree silhouette. You also get this large ornament base die that allows you to create large and small ornaments. I have 2 dedicated videos featuring ornaments, so I will not be using that die today. I'm mainly going to feature the stamp set here with the coordinating dies, and then I will use the 2 Christmas tree dies from the kit, but I will only feature them, I think, twice. So mainly featuring the stencils and the stamps in this video, and I'm just going to be making some regular flat cards. This was really refreshing because up until filming this, I was just doing pop-up trees, so I was really excited to work with the other contents of the card kit. You get this layering postcard stencil that I just showed, and then there's a snowflake background and a starry, snowy, all-around background included. So it's a huge kit, and really there's so many possibilities with it. At this point, I have probably made well over 30 cards, maybe even 40 cards with this kit, and I still have some more ideas. So I'm going to start off with the retro tree die. You can see I cut the base from white cardstock. I'm layering it up so that it's nice and thick. This can be taken off the card and be used as an ornament or as a tag that you can add to your gifts. But I will be gluing this flat on an A7 card. So I have shown the paper piecing in a previous video, but in case you haven't seen it, I'll just show it really quickly again. I am double layering the garland this time. I thought it'd be fun to have a dark teal and a light teal layer for the garland, with just that dark teal slightly peeking through the bottom. And this entire card kit was inspired by 60s Christmas decor, that aesthetic. And this tree specifically, I drew to look a little bit like those ceramic trees they sold back then. They're kind of coming back in popularity. I know last year they were everywhere. I don't know about this year yet, but I knew when I saw them last year that I really wanted to turn one into a die cut. And so my whole card kit kind of centered around this tree. And I went with that retro theme with the coordinating colors because I love pinks and teals on Christmas cards. I don't see it very often. So it was really fun designing this kit. I went ahead and zoomed so that you can see these tiny light bulbs. I know it looks kind of tedious, but it doesn't take long at all to paper piece these light bulbs, and you can do them all in the same color if that's easier. There are ceramic trees I've seen that have the same color light bulbs, and there are traditional looking ones too if you're not into the whole retro color scheme. And like I said, I have a dedicated video featuring just this tree and that large and small ornament base die from the card kit. So if you want to check that out, I will have it linked in the eye up here and also in the video description. I also have a video featuring the A7 tree silhouette also included in the kit. And if you haven't seen those videos, I encourage you guys to check it out because they make adorable little holiday tags for your gifts that can be turned into ornaments. And they're just so fun. They're like fluffy 360 ornaments. So here are my 2 paper piece trees. I didn't show the small one because I just did the same thing. I did cut the base from teal instead of white, and then I did the garlands from white and gray. But otherwise the light bulbs are all the same, and the star at the top was cut from gold glitter. And I will use that small tree at the end of the video. I think it's my last card. And so I decided to die cut some ovals here, and I'm just adding some extra cardstock behind. I had a smaller oval that I didn't end up using, so I just added it to the back, and then I'm filling in the extra space with some cardstock. So this is only 1 paper thick, or 1 cardstock thick, but it is going to pop up a little bit. I didn't want to add too much dimension to the oval because I do have 3 heavyweight white die cuts on the tree. I did want to spruce up this gray oval with the garland from the same retro tree die set. There is a long garland that you can use on the ornaments and kind of pop it up from them. It's hard to explain, but it also looks like a cute little border. So I'm just going to cover this entire oval with these white glitter garlands. And then that tree is just going to go in the center. And what's adorable is that a lot of the stamps and the dies have a coordinating paper. So I chose the one that has the retro Christmas trees on the pink background. And I'm going to be doing that a lot for my cards. I technically made 12. So I have 10 designs, but some of them I made multiples because I had a coordinating paper for a specific image. So I just reused one of the card designs so that I can have the matching, paper with the die or with the image. And I really love that about almost all of our card kits are like this. I reuse my stamp and die designs on my papers so that my entire collection matches. But for some reason, this card kit specifically, maybe it's because there's not as many products as I normally have in a collection, everything matches so perfectly. And this was definitely one of my favorite 10 card one kits to film because I ended up with 12 cards. I definitely enjoyed the process. So all I did was glue that large tree in the center of the oval, and then I added that to my A7 card base. You can see I also added a Merry Christmas sentiment across the tree, and that finished that off. Now I'm going through the paper pad, and I chose the paper that has the pre-made postcards. I know that these paper designs can look a little intimidating because they're essentially already finished. You can just glue them on a card base and call it done. And some people want to be a little more creative. So here is my take on that. I thought it would be fun to add shaker windows to the images or to the scenes that are already designed on the postcard. So I did that by gluing 1 square red frame and 1 circle red frame to some acetate. I set that aside to dry, and then I have 3 additional die cuts for each frame that I'm going to layer up, and these will be the shaker walls. This is going to add some dimensions so that my sequins and my gems can move around inside the shaker. So one postcard has a circle scene and the other one has a square, so that's why I am using a square and circle here. And I chose red because there's little pops of red on both postcards. And you can do this if you're not into the pre-made postcards. You can just make your own and do the same thing with these shakers. So now I'm going to cut out the ones that have acetate behind them. And these will be my shaker windows. And I really like that these are small, so they're really fast to make. And there are technically 6 postcards. Wait, no, there's 8 because there's 4 of each design in the paper pad. So if you wanted, you can make 4 of these. By the way, here's Goose. He finally was able to jump on my table because I had my chair over to the side of my desk and he jumped on the chair and then onto my table. So I thought I would show him. He's so much bigger now. And so anyway, yeah, you can make 8 of these if you wanted to mass produce them. And I think they're even cute just as postcards. You don't have to add them to an A2 card base unless you want to. So this stamp set has these little scenes so that you can make your own postcards. But I decided I'm going to fussy cut the tree image with the presents at the bottom so that it's going to lay on top of the one that's already drawn on the pre-made postcard. Now my stamps, I did digitally color and print them out, but in your case, you would stamp them and color them. So now I'm going to add my gems. This one has the red and green kind of crystal looking gems that are included in the card kit. These are really pretty because they kind of take on the color that's beneath them. So with if you're gluing them on a darker cardstock, they'll kind of darken, and if they're on a lighter cardstock, they'll be a little bit brighter, which is really fun. So I just added the red and green gems in there. You don't have to add a lot because it's a small shaker. And then I'm just going to add my square frame on top. And then I will take that tree that I fussy cut and glue that on top of the acetate so that you can better see that there's a tree inside that scene. I did add quite a bit of gems in there, so it does cover a lot of that tree in the inside. All right, and then I'm just going to decorate the outside of the shaker with the same gems. And that finishes off the postcard. So for this little shaker, I thought it would be fun to have the red and green gems plus the snowflakes that are in the other mix. This other mix also has some teal colored gems, but they're a little bit larger. They're not as small. So I didn't want them to be too bulky. So I took them out and I just used the red and green, but then I did add the snowflakes to this one, which is really cute. Then I will add my circle frame to the top and close all those gems inside. Here's my little clamshell from the last collection. I'm using it to hold some small die cuts. So here I have my little truck that I fussy cut, again, from the same way I just did with the tree. I popped that up onto the acetate window. And then these can just go on A2 card bases. You can see that they're not as tall as an A2 base, so I'm just going to add a strip of pattern paper to the bottom. And I love that this kind of looks like the postage stripes. So it just adds to that postcard look. Now you can create these exact postcards with the layering stencils that are included. So I will show that, I think, next. But for those of you that want to create quick and simple cards, these pre-made images in a lot of my paper pads are really nice. And I did want to show you how you can spruce them up by making them into shakers. I think that these turned out really cute. So here's some close-ups. All right, so now we're going to work with the A7 tree silhouette. And this one I'm decorating with the garland that's from the retro tree. I die cut those from silver glitter cardstock, and I'm not going to add a drop shadow with another color on these. It felt like the sparkle was enough. I did die cut the small tree silhouette once from teal, which is what I'm decorating now, and then twice from solid white cardstock. And the white ones I'm going to decorate with teal glitter garlands. And because the retro and the tree silhouettes are the same size, you can use the garland and the light bulbs if you want on the solid trees. I really like having the basic tree silhouette for the ornaments because you can add so many layers. They're completely symmetrical, so you can have a very fluffy ornament. But if you want to, you can dress them up. So that's what I'm doing here. And in case you missed our inspiration hop over on Instagram, I encourage you guys to check that out. I am giving away 2 $25 gift cards to Scrappy Tails, and the cards that the design team have made for this kit are phenomenal. And there's a couple guest designers as well, so you might find some crafters you haven't followed yet. So definitely check that out. I will have my Instagram linked in the video description. All right, so I did the second white tree the same way. I gave them also a teal glitter star at the top. And then I have this pattern that has the snowflakes in the background. It's a darker shade of teal, and I thought that would be really cute. So I am going to add 2 heavyweight die cuts behind my blue tree here. I'm also going to just use some scraps of paper behind the star because I forgot to cut some additional stars. But that is no problem. It takes like a couple seconds just to add that. And then these ones I'll leave flat because they will be in the background. So this is going to be a square card design. I believe the pattern is cut to 5 by 5 and my card base is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. All right, so this one will go right in the center, just overlapping the white trees. I thought this was a really cute layout, and typically I would put these in the center, but instead I went for the left corner. And I have my other Merry Christmas sentiment here. I'm going to add that to the center of the blue tree. And don't you love the back side of that paper? It has little penguins. I am going to design for the October collection some of these images in this stamp set and in the paper pad I will make into dies. So don't worry. A lot of people have been asking if those penguins will be a die and if the truck and the little bug will be a die. They definitely will. With the Christmas in July kit, I was kind of wanting to show a sneak peek of what our big Christmas collection would look like. So we are definitely sticking with the retro theme, but we are also adding some more elegant designs. You guys know, since I started Scrappy Tails, I've always done more traditional, classic Christmas collections. So yes, there will have that little retro whimsical style a little bit throughout, but there's also going to be some elegant pieces. But yes, some of your favorite images from this kit will also turn into dies, which I'm very excited for. So now I'm using the layering stencil that creates the postcards, and I thought, I have the stencils out, I have the inks out, I'm going to make multiples. So I did a cream base that I just showed with I think this is Broken China Distress ink for the first layer of the stripes. And I went ahead and pre-cut my papers to be the size of the postcard so that I can tape them right to the corner. Off camera, I also did a craft one that I will show on TikTok. So if you haven't followed me on TikTok, I do show some cards that aren't in my YouTube videos over there. For the cream postcard, I took the same stencil I just used, but I'm going to stencil on the postage stamp that's on the set. And then on the second one, I'm going to do the second layer of the postage stamp with the darker Broken China ink. So you can completely stencil a scene if you want to. So this card is going to feature that. For the second layer of the stripes, I'm going with spun sugar, just following the colors that are in the paper pad to make these postcards. So you can use the stamps because the stamps have postage stamps. They have the scenes that you can add to the postcards, or you can fully make the scene with just the stencils. So this card is going to feature just the stencils, and then the second card will feature the stamps with the stencils. So I went ahead and added the lines for the text with, I think this is Festive Berries. I also did that for the little wavy lines for the postage stamp at the top. And then I chose the square scene. And I'm just going to add whatever ink is left on my blue ink dauber to create a soft snowy sky. And then there is even a second layer where you can add snow. And you can add these little trees. So I'm using the Broken China ink again here to stencil on a large tree and a small tree. And then I thought, ooh, wouldn't it be cool to have a tree in the distance? So using whatever ink was left, I made one more small tree, and that looks like it's kind of set back, which is really pretty. So here is a mistake. Don't do what I'm doing. I'm squishing on a very juicy ink cube. This is white ink through the snowy stencil pattern that's on the second layer. And it just kind of blobbed because I squished it too hard and it just went underneath the stencil. So here I'm trying to save it. I'm seeing, well, if I get an ink dauber, maybe it'll like smoothen out. It didn't because the damage was done. So it kind of looks cool, but I decided to just kind of wipe it off and leave it. And it kind of left this haze over the trees. So it kind of looks like a foggy morning scene, which I wasn't mad about, so I just left it alone. And here is the other stamp that I did. For this one, I just added the lines for the sentiment to be added to, and I thought it would be fun to add some more background texture to this with the other stencils that are included in the card kit. So this one is the snowy star background. I'm using spun sugar to ink through. This is so light. I mean, we're doing a light pink on a light pink ink. that's because I did not want this to be too distracting. So you can hardly see that there is stenciling there, but trust me, in real life you can see it. I do the same thing with the larger snowflake background, and I love this stencil. I can use this on so many backgrounds. So here I slowed down the video so you can kind of see just a slight hint of background texture there. Then I have my stamps that are colored. I went with the one that has the tree and the presents, and then I just added some different postage stamps at the top. I did think I needed the little tails for the postage. I don't know what that's called, but I added that with red ink. I want to use the season's greetings, but I had all those lines, stenciled, so I wanted to fill the lines in. So I chose 2 little presents that I had pre-made from a previous project, and I just added those to the bottom. Those presents are included in the A7 tree silhouette die set in the kit. All right, so I'm just gonna glue all these different images, and these come together very quickly. So if you want, you can stamp and color every image from the stamp set, and you'll get 3 different postcards because there's 3 scenes within that stamp set that you can use. There's also multiple sentiments that you can add to the lines. There's also specific sentiments that are spaced apart to be stamped on the lines for the stencil. So I'm going to embellish this with the snowflake and the teal gems that are included in the card kit. And then that finishes off my first postcard. Again, you can just leave it as is. You don't have to add it to an A2 card, and you can use it as a real Christmas postcard if you wanted to. So here's that craft one I did off camera. I did it the exact same way as the pink. You can see that I did also add the snowflake background and the snowy star background to it with some very light brown ink. And this time I went with the little truck scene, which I think is so cute. I just love that all the colors coordinate perfectly. And I think I would have had a lot of fun coloring these stamps if I had the time to. So here's an example of that sentiment that is perfectly spaced apart to stamp directly on the lines of the stenciled image. I went ahead and die cut my sentiment, but you can definitely just stamp it directly there. I did embellish this card with the snowflake sequins, and then in the center of each one I am adding a small red gem, and that finished off my second postcard. Here's the one that I stenciled. I think out of the 3, this one's my favorite just because, I don't know, I really like the soft colors. From the stamp set, I die cut the little cabin, and I'm going to add that to the center of my scene. And then I also have a tiny snowman that I'm going to add to the center of the postage stamp that I stenciled. Then I have my typical airmail and my USA badge that I added to the top. Here's another sentiment that again is perfectly spaced apart to add to the lines. And like I said, if you went ahead and stamped out every image from the stamp, you will get 3 postcards, which is really fun. And then you can create more with the stenciled images along with the standalone stamps, like the little cabin. There's also a Santa and some penguins that would be very cute on a postcard. So instead of using these as traditional postcards, I will add them to A2 cards. If you saw my product showcase video, I made some similar postcards that I kept as postcards. So if you haven't seen that, I will have it linked to give you some more ideas. All right, so I did 2 layers of heavyweight cardstock behind. You can see I'm just using scraps. I try not to cut into a new sheet of paper if I can avoid it, but I did want to pop up these beautiful postcards. For this one, I chose a busier pattern for the background, so I just matted it with some craft cardstock, and I just love how that one turned out. So here's my pink one. I'm going to add 2 layers of heavyweight white behind. And this is going to go on a starry red background. Pretty sure I used every paper from the paper pad. It's one of my favorite papers I've ever designed. I just love the colors and the patterns. It's just super cute. So I'm going to go ahead and add all 3 of these to card bases. And this is how I approached this card kit. I had one design that I changed up 3 different ways, but they're all essentially the same layout. I did that with another 2 sets that I will show you later on in the video. And that's ultimately how I ended up with 12 cards. You can use the same layout or the same card sketch, but change up the images or the colors so that you can get different looks. I know Just Crafts, she's one of my favorite YouTubers. She does this on almost all her videos, and they're so relaxing to watch. Hers are much more simple, but she can use up an entire paper pad and just go off the same sketch, and each one looks different because she just changes out the main image, or she changes the colors or the patterns. So if you don't know who she is, check her out. Her name is Just Crafts on YouTube. All right, so I'm coming back to the A7 tree silhouette. This is the large one. So this is an A7 card, and I'm also going to be using the We Wish You a Merry Christmas word die from the kit. This is exclusive. You cannot buy this word die unless you buy the kit. And I don't know if I mentioned or not, but the kit is a great value. It has $190 worth of products for only $150. Some of them you can buy separate, but they are, again, like full price. So if you really like this theme and you want to make endless cards, I really encourage you guys to check out the card kit. It's a great deal. So that word die is meant to fit in the inside of the tree. So I'm going to add that to a teal colored tree silhouette. And I did offset this sentiment with a white die cut beneath a red die cut beneath the white one. So it just has a drop shadow that's really pretty. This card was inspired by one of my design team members. She created a similar design with the retro tree with the word die in the middle of it. And I also forgot to mention that the shaker cards with the postcards was a design from another team member. Her name is Estelle. So I have to give credit where credit is due. If I case a card or if I have a card that's very similar, I feel responsible to tell the inspiration I got it from. So I am decorating this tree with the red and green gems that are from the kit. And here you can see that the red gems get darker on this darker teal cardstock, but it's really pretty. I love how that looks. I did add a gold star to the top from the retro tree die set. And then I'm gonna mix some of my patterns here. I love the little pin stripes with the different pinks, reds, and teals on the background, but I wanted to break it up with this red diagonal stripe, which it seems like on all of my cards, this was kind of my breakup pattern. It's like the most solid of all the patterns. So it's nice to kind of ground an image with. I did add some gold glitter cardstock behind it just to add some more sparkle. It is a Christmas card. And then I'm just going to add my tree to the right side of that strip that I added, and then I'll just embellish the rest of the card with the red and green gems. And here you can see when I add the red to the cream, they're much brighter. So that's pretty cool. We have recently put a lot of these crystal type gems into the shop, and I just love them. They're so pretty. All right, so I'm going to mat this card with some red cardstock. And this is another great one to mass produce. Did not take very long at all. I think it would be fun also to change up the gems that you use as ornaments. But yeah, that finishes off that card. I don't know what number this is. 5, maybe 6. I always lose track in these videos. So here is another design where I am using the car image from the stamp set and coordinating it with the matching pattern paper. And that just makes me so happy because you can create very simple designs and it's still going to look amazing because everything matches. So I did not have a circle that would create a thin enough border. So I'm just freehand cutting a circle. I know in every video for the past year I've said that I need to buy basic shapes because I don't have very many, but I'm winging it. So I just matted that with some teal cardstock, and this is the same layout. Here's that red stripe again. I'm just going to add that to the center. I didn't add any glitter because I felt like this could be a masculine design. So all I'm going to do is add my circle scene at the top of the strip, and then I added the Merry Christmas below it. I am adding some heavy cardstock behind the circle to pop it up, and I also popped up the Merry Christmas word, which the stamp set does include coordinating dies for the sentiments, which I love because then I can pop up my sentiments. So this one I'm going to mat with some teal cardstock, and I didn't add any gems to this. This is, in my opinion, really my only masculine Christmas card. But I will say that I feel like Christmas, everyone appreciates it. Everyone loves the festivities of it, so I wouldn't even really consider, this to be a masculine card, but it's definitely not the most like glammed up one. So now I wanted to use those penguins. Of course I had to use the penguins. They are the cutest thing ever. So I am taking the square from the stencil. There is a square, a circle, and a star. So you can do this, again, 3 different ways with one sketch. I'm just going to use it 2 ways because I just wanted to use the square and the circle. And I am using, I think this is Festive Berries to blend the square. I'm focusing the darker ink towards the bottom and kind of fading it out. And you can also use the second layer that has the snow. And I'm going to use a finger dauber with Versamark ink, and I'm going to gold heat emboss the snow. I thought that would be really cute. I will say, when you're making these postcards, and you might have already seen it, well, you did see it, I used finger daubers because the different cutouts are kind of close together. So the finger daubers have more control on where the ink goes. Or if you have a smaller blender brush, that would also work well. All right, so here's my gold embossing powder. Just gonna sprinkle that. I did take a risk because I did just ink blend on that square, and I went ahead and added embossing powder, but for some reason it worked. There was a couple stragglers, but I knew my penguins would cover most of the embossing, so it didn't really matter to me. I'm using the square that is from the stamp set. So remember, there is the exact same scenes in the stamp. They're also the same size as the scenes on the stencils. So I was able to use the square from the coordinating die set to cut that square out, and I'll also do that with the circle. And there's little Goose up to no good in the corner. And here I have my penguins and some presents that I pre-die cut, and I really wanted to use the penguins with the presents. I, in my head, wanted to have them sitting on the presents, but something just wasn't working for me. It's kind of cute, but I thought it would be cuter if I just did a more simple scene. So I'm going to end up changing this, but I thought I would leave it in because sometimes I can have a vision in my head and it just doesn't work. Also, here is that strip again. We have to have the strip to ground the image. So I went with the opposite side with the teal snowflakes. And doesn't that just like look so much more pleasing to the eye? It's not so busy anymore, but you can still see the penguins peeking through the back. I went ahead and popped this up with 2 more square die cuts. And instead of the presents, I just used the trees from the stamp set. And that way at the top you can still see that gold snowy embossing going to pop up my sentiment as well. And this is the exact same layout I've been using for all of my cards today. But, you know, it's a sketch that I like. It's a sketch that works with these busier patterns. So why not just use it? I still had so much fun making these. This one I am going to add the tiny gold strips on either side. If you want to save your gold glitter cardstock, just cut strips and just add them to the left and right side. That way you're not using as much glitter, but I just went for it. All right, so that's going to go at the top, and then below I'll add my sentiment. And then I'm going to use this sketch one more time for my next card. Here is my A2 card base. I didn't like the cream border, so I went with another teal one. Actually, maybe I went with red. No, I went with teal. Or maybe that's a turquoise, and I've just been saying teal the entire video. We're just going to call it teal. It might be turquoise. I get my blues mixed up. Okay, so I did leave a tiny border for my card base to peek through. And I don't think I embellished this one either. I felt like the gold strips was enough with the gold embossing. So now I'm going to use the circle from the stencil. And I am using the second layer, so that will create a little snowbank at the bottom. So when I cut this out with the circle die, the bottom will look like a snow hill, which is really cute. And that one, I think that was spun sugar for the sky. Here I have my strip. I went with the pinstripe, and then here's the pattern paper with those adorable snowmen in the background. By the way, if you want to color your stamps the way that I have mine colored, you can go to my website and I have a full colored image that you can reference. So this one, I just used the same trees. I think I just went with one tree. And then I have my snowmen. This one is going to have silver glitter peeking through. I thought silver would look nicer with these cooler tones. And there's also a star that you can stencil. I kind of wish I went ahead and just did that last one to show you. But yeah, that's an option. By the way, I don't know if you saw, but I die cut the sentiment from one of those pre-made postcards. The coordinating dies will line up with the images that are on, or most of the images that are on the pattern papers. So that's where that sentiment came from. And that one has like lines underneath it, which is kind of cool. Kind of helps it stand out. This one I'm just going to glue to my card base. I liked the cream popping through. And again, I don't think I embellished this one. Yep. So that finishes off. I think this is the 9th card. I think I have one more. And I'm going back to the stencils. This one, I just wanted to use the stripes. So I'm lining that up to the corner, flipping it around and taping the back. If you want to use a larger sheet and then cut it, it might be a little bit easier, but I liked having the postcard cut to size so that it was already done by the time I was finished ink blending. I am going to add some more washi tape to the sides so that there's nothing, hopefully, seeping through the edges. And I will use shaded lilac and spun sugar for these stripes. I love the soft colors on that retro tree. So I'm going with some pastel inks here. And this was actually, I think, the first card I made with these stencils. And this is when I realized it's much smarter to use finger daubers here, because there is that square cutout right above the stripes. There's also that postage stamp around the stripes. So I didn't want to risk transferring ink in those areas. So you're going to see for the second layer, I'm just going to switch to a finger dauber. But as long as you're careful, you can also use your blender brushes here. So I think that's cute. Even without the second layer of stripes, it kind of looks like stitching. But I will go ahead and add the second layer here. And this one will have the spun sugar. Both of these colors match perfectly with the purple and pink light bulbs on my retro tree. All right, so my retro tree is going to go on the bottom right corner. And then I wanted to just use the Merry Christmas from the word die, so I just cut off the top. I'm layering 2 heavyweight die cuts behind my silver word die just to pop it up. I do this a lot off camera. Sometimes you see me layering the die cut, sometimes you don't, but just know almost all of my main focal points and my sentiments are typically popped up. It adds a little bit of time to the card making process, but I really think it's worth it. All right, so this is going to go in the bottom right. And this will go on the top left. And then I'm going to embellish around the sentiment with the snowflake sequins from the kit. I do have a few of these kits left. And once they're gone, they're gone. I'm not restocking the kit, so you can buy the items separately after the kit sells, some of the items. But that value will not come back. That 20% of savings will be gone. All right, so here are the sequins. Just scattered those around the sentiment. Then I'm going to glue this to a light blue card panel. And then I'm going to glue this to a light pink card base. So this one is a little bit different from the others. It's much more softer, but I think it's really pretty. So here is a close-up, and now I'm going to go through all 10 cards that I created. Please let me know which card is your favorite. I know I reused the same kind of template for a lot of these cards, but I think they still look different. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And if you haven't yet already, please subscribe to my channel. I'm growing slowly, but it's exciting to see, more people watching my videos. So I'm almost at 6,000 subscribers. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and do that. I will have the card kit linked as well as all the individual products. And I will see you in my next video. By the way, I'm working on the Halloween collection this week, and you guys are going to be blown away. I have not slept in weeks because I am bringing out so many collections in such a short amount of time, but I'm so excited to share the Halloween release. So thanks again for watching and listening to me ramble for 43 minutes, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.